Welcome. I'm Toylin Weil with Wild Sacred Awakening. This is the introduction to a guided meditation to support you in releasing negative beliefs and energy of others that you consciously or unconsciously hold. When you are ready to dive into the actual guided meditation, find the link to the video called Releasing the Suffering of Others Part 2 in the description below. First, the brief explanation. From a very young age, we as human beings have kept ourselves safe by developing various defenses or ways of protecting ourselves in a world we have experienced as unsafe. It's ingenious, really, how the mind comes up with these protective shields. When these defenses become stuck, it's like living behind a glass wall that divides us from full presence, from full functioning in relationships and in the world. There are many types of defenses, and each one of us has one or more we primarily use on a consistent basis. The one I'm addressing today is one we use when we take on the suffering of others, called introjection. To understand introjection, it first helps to know about projection. Projection is taking unacceptable thoughts, feelings, and experiences that you have and placing them on another to the point you believe it is what they think or feel. Introjection is the reverse. It's taking unacceptable thoughts, feelings, or experiences of another and pulling them inside ourselves in order to make our world safer. In essence, it's swallowing another's pain to make the world less painful. For instance, imagine an infant sitting in her mother's arms who experiences her mother as severely depressed. She sees a face without a lot of expression or even a frown, and she instinctually knows this is not a safe situation. So she swallows this depression of her mother into herself in order to see a safer mother. Her mother's depression becomes her own. Another example might be when we feel the pain of the world so deeply that we take it inside of us and hold it, thinking in our goodness and innocence that this is what will save the world and thus us. I know that many of us are feeling these waves of anxiety and sorrow collectively at this time. How do we have compassion for another without taking that pain inside in ways that harm us? It's a challenge, and one that many intuitives, sensitives, and good-hearted people experience. The harm comes when these feelings then get stuck within our bodies and in our psyches. There is a beautiful practice in Tibetan Buddhism called Tonglen. In this practice, one breathes in the pain of self, others, even the world, where it's transformed with love in the heart and then released. This is a beautiful model for our own practice of how to release the pain and suffering of the world from our energy bodies and our physical bodies, our hearts, and our minds. Energy workers and massage therapists know that if they don't cleanse their energy bodies after they work on another, they might carry pieces of energy from another. What is more healthy is to create permeable boundaries that allow the good to flow in and out and filter the negative as much as possible or as much is as needed, versus building glass walls that isolate us from true human connection and experience, and even isolate us from ourselves. Therefore, when we are healthiest in boundaries, we are conduits versus containers for the pain we might experience in the world. I'll say that again because that's really important. When we are healthiest in boundaries, we are conduits versus containers for the pain we might experience in the world. Another thing that helps to understand is about quantum entanglement. Quantum entanglement is the physics concept that whenever two elements interact, pieces of each element become exchanged, even at a distance. And since we are discovering time is beyond our linear perception of it, pieces of each element might become exchanged even across time. So when we have an interaction with another, loving or toxic, we exchange energy, and some of that energy stays behind. And sometimes it can even feel like an attachment remains. Some identify this attachment as an energy cord. To release negative energy or unhook a cord that has become stuck, it's most helpful to name and release the energies that are no longer yours to hold, and to do a decording process. And since what we put out there comes back to us, a releasing process done with love instead of hate, or compassion instead of fear, only calls in more love to you and spreads more light to the world. My wish for you is deep healing throughout this process.